Good evening, this is WION Wallet. I am Sumit Chaturvedi and let's go straight to our top headlines. Online sellers appeal to Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to help safeguard their money that Snapdeal holds in the form of outstanding dues. Two landmark Delhi hotels look end the deadlock with New Delhi Municipal Council confirming a decision to auction Taj Mansingh and to cancel license of Lee Meridian. Yahoo Inc. says that about 32 million users' accounts were accessed by intruders in the last 2 years using forged cookies. And today in special, we tell you all about telecom wars in India. Now, a telecom story will be later, but starting with another story coming from US, Boeing is reducing its Seattle area workforce by at least 1,800 jobs this year. The company plans to reorganize its operations in a brutally competitive commercial aircraft market. Boeing has accepted close to 1,500 voluntary layoffs as a part of jet makers' drive to cut costs through job reductions and other measures. Boeing has said its reductions will come through voluntary layoffs, retirements, and in some cases, involuntary layoffs as well. Well, the reductions had been announced last year and workers had until Feb 1 to apply. Now, Boeing offered the buyouts to workers last year as part of an 8% workforce reduction at its commercial airplane business. The unit had about 74,600 workers at the end of February. Now, news from the tech space where Apple has sued chipmaker Qualcomm Inc. The case has been filed in a UK court, adding to lawsuits across the globe and a sprawling battle over patents and licensing fees between the iPhone developer and the largest designer of mobile phone chips. Apple has filed a $1 billion lawsuit against Qualcomm, accusing the chipmaker of misusing a monopoly position after the US and South Korean regulators argued it exploited its market dominance at the expense of handset makers. At the heart of dispute between Apple and Qualcomm is a push by phone makers with support of some regulators to reduce the patent royalties Qualcomm charges. Qualcomm gets the bulk of its revenue from selling chips, but more than half of its profit come from a separate licensing business. After e-commerce player Snapdeal began laying off hundreds of employees as part of its restructuring, online sellers appealed to Ministry of Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to help them safeguard their money that company Snapdeal holds in the form of outstanding dues. Well, the All India Online Vendor Association has written to the Union Commerce Minister Sitharaman that Snapdeal holds their outstanding dues, goods in transit and refunds of Rs 300 to 400 crore. Well, the E-Commerce Sellers Association of India has also cautioned its members to either stop selling on Snapdeal or to ensure that their dues from the company do not accumulate big. News from New Delhi, where the hospitality reign of two landmark Delhi hotels looks set to end soon, with the New Delhi Municipal Council or NDMC confirming a decision to auction Taj Mansingh and cancelling Meridian's license. The two decisions were pending since long time as the civic body was entangled in legal battles with the hotel operators. The civic agency NDMC, under the administrative control of Union Home Ministry, had got the nod to auction the hotel in March 2015. It had also selected SBI Cap to be its transaction consultant for the auction. However, the process got delayed with the Tatas moving court. The Supreme Court in January asked NDMC to reconsider the decision to auction the property Taj Mansingh. The right to first refusal ROFR to Tatas has been denied in this auction, which means the company can't take part in the process. The civic body NDMC also decided to cancel the license of Lee Meridian as well. In the Lee Meridian's case, allegations of irregularities have been levelled against the civic body on recovery of the amount. Yahoo, which disclosed two massive data breaches last year, said that about 32 million user accounts were accessed by intruders in the last 2 years using forged cookies. Well, the company said some of the latest intrusions can be connected to the same state-sponsored actor believed to be responsible for 2014 breach, in which at least 500 million accounts were affected. Forged cookies allow an intruder to access a user's account without a password. Yahoo also said in December that data from more than 1 billion user accounts was compromised in August 2013, making it the largest breach in history. Last month, Verizon Communications, which is in the process of buying Yahoo, lowered its original offer by $350 million to $4.48 billion. Banks globally have paid $321 billion in fines since 2008 for an abundance of regulatory failings, from money laundering to market manipulation and terrorist financing. According to data from Boston Consulting Group, this has been said. Well, it has also said that Tele is set to increase in the coming years as European and Asian regulators catch up with their more aggressive US peers who have levied the majority of charges to date, BCG said in its 7th annual study of industry published on Thursday. Well, banks have paid $42 billion in fines in 2016 alone, a 68% rise on the previous year, the data showed. The era of ever-increasing regulatory requirements is here to stay, BCG said, despite President Donald Trump's pledge to roll back 2010 Dodd-Frank Act that reshaped US banking in the aftermath of collapse of Lehman Brothers. The number of rule changes that banks must track on a daily basis has tripled since 2011 to an average of 200 revisions a day, according to the BCG report. And today in our special, we focus on frequent telecom wars in Indian market, and we tell you what does it mean for consumers and telecom companies. Now, telecom wars in Indian market is bleeding India's top mobile phone operators. Bharti Airtel, Vodafone and Idea have reported a sharp sequential fall in their revenue in third quarter, injured by Reliance Jio's free voice and data services. Take a look at this story on Telecom Wars.
There won't be any clear winners in Indian telecom industry in India for some time to come. Telecom wars in the market is bleeding all telcos and their revenues are coming down. Bharti Airtel's adjusted gross revenue in third quarter was at 11,500 crore Indian rupees, down 8% sequentially. Vodafone third quarter adjusted gross revenue was 8,300 crore Indian rupees, down 5.1%. Whereas Idea's adjusted gross revenue is at 7,000 crore Indian rupees, down by 4.9%. The newcomer Reliance Jio's rupees 303 per month prime offer is the best and so far remains unmatched. And if it finds maximum traction from next month, then incumbent carriers will have to work hard enough to match it. Reliance Jio has got a go-ahead from Try, but Vodafone plans to challenge the two Try orders, giving a clean chit to the free offers of Reliance Jio. Bureau Report, WION.
To discuss more on telecom wars, today we are joined by our telecom expert Mahesh Uppal. Well, good evening, Mr. Uppal. First of all, we would like to know from your side, give us a perspective of these telecom wars. Why are they happening so frequently in Indian environmental conditions, and going forward, what is the future there?
Well, I think the main reason and immediate reason is the following, that one of the biggest industry players in India, namely Reliance, has not been a player in the telecom sector for some time now, and I'm talking about Reliance Jio, which has huge ambitions in this sector, and it got its 4G spectrum about 7 years ago. Had not yet been able to launch its services till about a few months ago, and had lost a lot of ground in the market as a consequence.
But Mr. Uppal, this is good
so
for...
I think it was important, just 1 minute. So as a way of making a very a dramatic entry, what they had done was to, as it were, enter the market with a bang by offering free services for an indeterminate period, which has meant that a large number of consumers have drifted towards it and made use of this free offer, which has meant two things. One is that a large amount of data traffic has moved to Reliance. On the other hand, the existing players have been forced to match the zero price that the Reliance is charging, in other words, the freebies that the Reliance is offering. So the companies have no choice but to cut their prices to be competitive, which has resulted in massive bleeding of the existing players. And of course, as far as Reliance is concerned, it's yet to make any significant revenues. So there is a huge tension in the market because a major player is refusing to charge for its services, and therefore has automatically resulted in other players becoming uncompetitive or struggling to remain competitive.
So, Mr. Uppal, what does it mean for consumers?
So that is really the crux of the problem.
Absolutely. But for consumer,
yes,
it's going to be good. Yeah. So what is the consumer angle here?
Yes. I think yes, the consumer angle is certainly positive in the short term. The consumers will are getting, in fact, free access to data services almost across the country. And in fact, a large number of users now use Reliance services. And to that extent, this price fall is something that the consumers will welcome. However, if this results in reduced competition, then in the medium term, the consumers may not necessarily be benefited. If this means that in 6 months or so there is an incentive to increase prices, then consumers may be hurt. At another level, consumers again could be happy, which is that if the number of players reduces in the market, there will be more incentive to invest in the network, which is something which is in great need of investment. And one of the reasons why operators haven't invested very much in recent times is because of the excessive competition. So if some of the resources get freed up for greater investments in the sector, that will be a good thing. And that means that the quality of services can be expected to improve over the period of time, maybe in the medium term.
Let's look at another story. Telecom wars in Indian market are set to become more intense with the days ahead. Market leader Bharti Airtel is announcing its free roaming services. Take a look at the story.
Jio has crossed the 100 million customer mark.
With Mukesh Ambani's Reliance putting all its might behind Jio Telecom services, arch rival Bharti Airtel is applying every trick in trade to match the offer. Airtel's chief Sunil Bharti Mittal acknowledged the tough competition in the telecom sector induced by Reliance Jio. Recently, Airtel has launched its free roaming scheme to match Reliance Jio's free call and SMS schemes.
No hidden charges.
We will offer them extremely low rates on a per-day package basis, and in any case, they will have a cap within which they will get adjusted for any roaming shocks they may generally incur while traveling.
Out of a total subscriber base of around 260 million, Bharti Airtel has majority of premium subscribers in the country using its telecom services. Keeping that in mind, the next frontier for Bharti Airtel will be international roaming services. Bharti Airtel is planning to launch new schemes for its international roaming subscribers soon.
One of the major tasks on my mind is to fix the problem of international roaming. The bill shocks are really creating a lot of dissonance in the minds of customers. It's time that I call upon the entire fraternity of telecom sector to come together to kill the international roaming tariffs that are presently prevalent.
Another positive for Bharti Airtel in telecom wars will be its settled old network, which might create thorns for Reliance Jio to spread its business in non-network areas. Bureau Report, WION.
Well, Mr. Upal, as you defined, it's going to be good for customers, but now government is saying that they are also losing a lot of revenue because of the free services. Well, Telecom Secretary has said that government is losing 800 crore revenue every year because of these free services. Do you think government will be, creating some kind of hurdles going forward as far as these free plans are concerned?
Well, I think the government would like to, but I think its hands are tied because the core problem is the licensing regime for which the government itself is responsible. We have an approach to levying license fees as a percentage of operator revenues. This is actually an anomaly. Most countries, this is not how levies are charged. This is not how governments levy license fees, etc. So because we have, for historical reasons, gone into charging license fees as a share of revenues, this anomaly is arising because Reliance is not generating revenues, and if it's not generating revenues, government doesn't have any share to collect. So yes, the government would be very disappointed, but as the regulator has said, it's not something that Reliance is doing which is against regulatory, which is outside of the regulatory regime or disallowed by the regulatory regime as of now. So yes, the government will be disappointed, but I think it can do little.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Upal, for talking to us and sharing your thoughts on this important subject. Well, with this, it is a time for a short break on WION Wallet. After the break, we will continue with our coverage of markets, both India and global. Stay tuned to WION. Welcome back to WION Wallet after the break. Now straight to our markets coverage, where Sensex and Nifty and flat today, but post first weekly loss since Jan 22, while the broader markets outperformed benchmark indices for the day as well as the week, with the Nifty Midcap rising 0.5% today. To discuss more on market, we are joined by Amit Gupta, co-founder, Trading Bills. Well, good evening, Mr. Gupta. First of all, tell us any idea how market is going to behave next week. Next week is going to be crucial because the election, the voting will end and the results announcement will be just around the corner. So how do you expect the markets will behave next week?
Well, for the true results of the election, the markets will only react next week, which will be a bit volatile, but we will see the true impact only in the following week once the UP election results are announced on 11th of March. I believe if the BJP government manages to win in this election, this could give a positive boost to the overall markets. The markets are just shy of 9,000 levels right now, although it did manage to touch 9,000. And despite the global cues coming from some of the Asian markets, the Hang Seng or the Nikkei, the Indian markets have managed to hang on flat. So this is showing some positive cues coming from domestic as well as FI investors. The markets are generally looking bullish, and I can see the markets closing somewhere close to 9,100 to 9,200 levels by this March expiry.
So, Mr. Gupta, what is the strategy going to be as far as next week is concerned? One should stay invested, go for some specific buying, or what should they do as far as next week's investment is concerned?
Overall, I would say stay invested in what stocks you own. There are a few alpha that can be picked up. The Reliance Jio, which announced its plan to capture 50% market share by 2021. That is a very positive step from Reliance and a very bold discussion and bold announcement coming out today. That stock really looks very powerful. Besides, although Infosys has been struggling a bit on the back of Trump's immigration policies, but the announcements coming from the company, from Vishal Sikka, about the 2.5 billion buyback that it is planning in April, as well as the 20 billion revenue targets by 2020. These are some very bold announcements by the CEO of Infosys. That's another stock that I'm very closely watching. However, this is probably not the right time to enter in some of these stocks. One should just wait and watch how the Trump's policies come out to and shape out to be, and how Reliance competitors act out in terms of Airtel and Idea, because they have been in news very lately as well. At the same time, there are some news coming out from China. The rubber prices have been dropping, which has helped the tire stocks lately. We saw CEAT, MRF, Apollo Tires. Some of these stocks have seen very good returns in the last week. So there can be some alpha hunting here, but overall, just stay invested. Let the results settle for the elections. Let the financial year end settle, and then we can start looking for long-term growth again.
And Mr. Gupta, in the coming few weeks, GST is going to go much closer to reality. Also, election results will come. If there are many positives, when can you see markets touching the point of 30,000, the Sensex touching 30,000 mark?
I would say, I was hoping that by 31st of March, the Sensex does touch 30,000 mark, but it seems that we'll have to wait until the second quarter of this year or the first quarter of the next financial year before that can happen. Although there are a few IPOs coming out at the same time, the CDSL IPO and the DMart IPO, which is what the investors can look at for in the current period. So, even if they are not making any investments in the current markets, what investors can do, and what I'm personally also looking at, is investing in some of these IPOs. DMart IPO is looking particularly promising, which is coming out next week. The company is very strong with presence in over 45 cities. The company has a very strong promoter background with experience and entrepreneurial management team. So it's a very promising IPO I'm looking at, followed by the CDSL IPO in the next week. So look out for some of the growth patterns in these IPOs is what I would suggest. And wait for the Sensex to reach 30,000 and hopefully by Q1 of the next financial year.
And Mr. Gupta, one thing on global markets, well, most of them are trading in red again. What is happening there? How do you see them trading over the next few weeks?
A lot of the global markets are being driven by not just Trump's policies, but also some of the economic data and crude oil prices. Crude oil has been hovering around the $55 mark since some time now, although there was some speculation that it will increase and close around $60 by the end of this year. If that happens, we can see some more activity in the global markets, especially in the oil and gas sector. At the same time, the Brexit proceedings, how they proceed in the next coming weeks, we will have to wait and watch how that impacts the Indian markets as well as the global markets. Especially right now, Trump is meeting companies which are offshoring jobs to India and China, such as General Electric, United Technologies. So everybody is watching out what his policies come out to be, how do they shape and how do they impact the Indian industry in the coming weeks.
Well, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts with us, Mr. Gupta. It was quite good talking to you today, where you put and throw some light on markets, both India and global. With this, we are going to close this bulletin of WION Wallet. For more news and updates, stay tuned to WION. Thanks for watching us.